All right, welcome everybody to today's virtual tech talk. We are revisiting one of our favorite apps, Libby, to talk about all the new features. Just so everybody knows, your cameras and microphones are off intentionally. That's just to reduce distractions for people that might end up watching this on the library's YouTube channel. But if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box and we'll pause periodically to ask your questions to my co-host, Haley. And I realized I just did not introduce myself. So my name is Casey. I'm the digital literacy librarian for Martin County, which means that I get to talk about all the fun technology with people like yourself. So thanks for joining us. We've been doing this for about a year now, and it looks like we'll continue to do it because these classes are quite popular. So check out the library's online calendar to sign up for more of these classes. I'm also joined by my colleague, Haley, who will be teaching most of today's session. So Haley, you can introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Haley. I am a library specialist at the Blake Library and a huge Libby fan. So I'm very happy to be here today.
All right, awesome. So just to give everyone a general idea about what we're covering today, I mentioned we have a lot to get through and Haley's going to do a great job of showing us everything. But we are going to be talking about Libby, the reading app from OneDrive. We're going to start first by reviewing devices that are compatible with Libby. Then we're going to actually do a live demo. So Haley's going to show you how to log into Libby for the first time. We're going to show you how to search and browse the library's huge digital collection. It's getting bigger every day. We're going to show you how to read and listen to books once you're in the app. For those of you that are big on placing holds and managing your holds and playing that fun game, we'll show you how to do that. And then we'll finish with how to set your preferences, which is basically notifications, how you want to be notified that your books are ready for you to check out. So without any further ado, we'll go ahead and start. So what is Libby? I did want to take a minute before we dive into our Libby demo just to clarify that Libby is an app by Overdrive, and the library subscribes to Overdrive for all of our digital content. So that's eBooks, audiobooks, and actually we even now have digital magazines. So Overdrive is where we buy our content. And you can access our Overdrive collection through the website, through the library's website and the library's catalog. But since most of you probably don't read books on your computer, we're going to be focusing today on Libby, which is an app that you download onto your mobile device. So Libby is the app by Overdrive that you'll use to access your books, audiobooks, and digital magazines. And the great thing about this, especially in a time where we're maybe not visiting the library or going to as many places, we can do this all from home. You don't need to come to the library to access any of this material. You can do all of this from your couch at 2 in the morning if that's what you need to do. So how do you get the app? So for those of you who have Android-based devices, you'll just go to the Google Play Store and search for Libby, L-I-B-B-Y, and find it and then download it to your Android device. And for those of you with Apple devices, so iPhones, iPads, depending on what you have, you'll go to the Apple App Store to download it. So it's just like downloading any other app. It's a free download, which is great because it's so wonderful, and you'll see that in just a minute. I did want to take a minute just to mention a few fairly common devices that some people have that are not compatible with Libby at this time. A Kindle Fire tablet is not currently available, is not currently compatible with Libby. So those of you that have a Kindle Fire tablet, you're going to want to download the Overdrive Classic app. It's slightly different app. Overdrive has requested that Libby get added to the Amazon store so that Kindle Fire users can download that onto their Kindle Fire tablets. But just so you know, if you do have a Kindle Fire tablet and you're wondering where Libby is, that's why you don't see it. For those of you with Kindle e-readers, so like a Kindle Paperwhite or a Kindle Oasis, those are the black and white e-readers, the ones that you can read outside. Some of them you can even read in the bathtub or the pool and they can get wet. Not saying I've tried that personally, but for those of you that have those Kindle e-reader devices, you can use Libby to manage your holds, but then you'll actually send the books to your Kindle e-reader. We're not going to go into that too heavily today, but Haley will show you at what point you'll send it off to your Kindle e-reader. It actually goes through the Amazon.com website. So she'll kind of touch on that and show you where to look or be on the lookout for, but just so you know, you can still use Libby to kind of manage your holds and check out books, but you'll actually send them to your e-reader to read. So with that being said, I'm going to ask for Haley to go ahead and take it away and show you how it works.
Absolutely. We'll get started here. And Casey, you can see my screen?
That looks great. Thanks, Haley.
Great. Okay, so we'll get started with just a quick overview of how you'll be logging into Libby when you first download it. This will be the first page that you see once Libby has been downloaded and you've opened it on your device. You'll see it asks, do you have a library card? If you do not, you can click here where it says not yet. This will bring you to our online link to apply for a Martin County Library card. If you do already have your card, you'll click yes. And you'll have a couple options for how you can look up our Martin County Library system. Today, we're going to search for a library, and we'll go ahead and use the zip code for the Blake Library, 34997. See what comes up for us here. And there we are, the Martin County Library system. Now it's going to ask us for, as soon as it wakes up, goodness. Oh no. Sorry, it looks like internet's just a little slow today. But okay, so here it gives us the option to let's add a library card for Martin County Public Library. This is where you'll click to enter your library card number. So I'll enter this number here. And next. Now your PIN number will be the last 4 digits of the phone number that we have on file for your account. You can always call one of our branches to confirm your PIN number if for some reason that PIN number is not working for you. Okay, and now we are signed in here. You can see this is our Libby demo library card with our Martin County logo down here. If you'll be using multiple cards on this Libby account, for example, if you're a caregiver or if you share a device with somebody, you can rename your card to have your name or your card number or anything that you need to differentiate it from anyone else who might also use this device. But we're going to keep this one. So now we will be on our, And from here, again, as Casey was mentioning, if you do read with a Kindle, you can click here to say, yes, I read with a Kindle. This will give you a slightly different option when you are searching for and looking for titles within our library. But because we are focusing on the Libby app today, we'll skip this option. And again, I will be showing you later where you'll be able to send a title that you check out to your Kindle device through your Amazon.com account. Okay, so now we are at our home page for the Libby app. You'll see our Martin County Library system is up here. And this is very similar to walking into the library here. You'll be able to browse through a lot of different sections. First, I'll do a brief overview of all these sections, and then we'll go back and give a little bit more information on these. First, you'll see these filters, which are some of our most popular searches here that you can click on. You'll also see catalog guides, which are these items here. These are some of our most popular items that people would be looking for. We have preferences that you can set that are sticky throughout your entire search. And then you'll see generated lists. These are updated every month or so, and this is very similar to displays that you would see in any of our library branches. So these are going to be titles on particular topics. Again, they're updated frequently, so make sure you check back on these and see if there's something new and exciting that maybe you hadn't thought to read before. We'll go back up to the top here, and we'll also mention our Lucky Day collection. I'll click here. Our Lucky Day collection are some of our popular titles that are available with no wait, very similar to our Martin's Most Wanted in our physical locations. These are a skip the line loan that are only available to check out for 7 days with no holds or renewals. So if you see something on a lucky day, know that it is a shorter time and you'll need to maybe read a little quicker. Right now, I'll go back to our main page and we will cover preferences, which are here. Oops, sorry. Now, this is where you can set any preferences that will apply to any searches moving forward for this device. For example, if you know that you'll only be using Libby to listen to audiobooks, if you prefer to hold a book in your hand to read it rather than an ebook, you can set a preference that only audiobooks will show up for any searches that you perform from now on. So I applied that preference and we'll see now we have one preference applied, and any items that are showing up will have this audiobook icon, these little earbuds that tell you that this is an audiobook rather than an ebook, and it tells you the approximate length of that title. Ebooks are all we're seeing here. So these are applied throughout any search that we would do from here on out. It's what we call a sticky preference. But for our purposes today, I am going to remove that preference so that we can see everything that the library has to offer in Libby. And you'll see now we're back to being able to view both audiobooks, which have this earbud icon, and ebooks, which show the full cover. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is browse our collection, and I will browse for a title for an ebook and do a demonstration on how we'll read an ebook. Later, we will search and find an audiobook for a demonstration as well. So we'll start out. I'm going to, if you know that you are in the mood for a historical fiction title, you can come to this link. Sorry, I'll go back and show where I clicked that. This link here, this filter for different subjects. And you'll see we've got over 148 different subjects available in our library system. So there's got to be something for everyone. I'm going to click here where it says historical fiction. And I know right now that I want to be looking for an ebook, but just as an example, what you'll see when you access any of these searches is this title is an ebook, which shows the full cover as kind of a rectangle there. This title is an audiobook. Again, it's got that earbud icon and it shows the length of this audio recording. You'll also see a little calendar icon here that shows you the availability of a title. You can see here this title says place hold, which tells us that we don't currently have any copies available in our system, but you can click this calendar to get an idea of how many copies we have, how long it might take for you. Sorry, this is a little slow. How long it might take for that title to come through for you. Goodness.
Haley, while that's loading, can I ask you a question from our chat?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, we had a question asking, when you select a preference, does it stay until you change it, or is it only for the current search?
When you select a preference, that is what we call sticky, which means it will stay for any search going forward until you change it. So you'll see here, these preferences are saved and applied to all lists. So if you set a preference that you only want titles in Spanish or you only want eBooks, those will be the only things that show up in any search session until you change those preferences.
Great, thanks so much. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, thank you. That's good. The internet is just taking its time today. So I clicked on this calendar icon, and you can see here it gives you a little bit of information about this title. It's about a 4-week wait with the Martin County Library. We have 27 copies and 47 people waiting. So it'll give you an idea of about how long you'll be waiting for that title. You may also see this icon here, which is our lucky day icon, which would tell you that this title is a skip the line loan that you would be able to check out immediately for only 7 days. Again, our lucky day titles are 7-day checkouts, no holds, no renewals. So today I would like to search for an ebook only for this particular search. So I'm not going to set a preference. I'm going to use this refine button over here. And that gives us a lot of the similar search fields. For my format, I'm going to choose books rather than audiobooks. And we'll see now that we are only seeing books in our responses. What we'll do is we will search for a book. Now this book here, The Giver of Stars, is showing us that we have it available to borrow right now. We can add it to our card here using this link. And we can open this title by clicking on the cover or on the title of this book. This brings us to the information page for this title. So I'll go over a couple features here. One great new feature that Libby has added recently is this share option. You'll see this box with an arrow pointing out of it. That's sort of a universal icon for sharing an item. You can click this button to send it to a friend via email or text. You can copy the link, a link to this title, if you'd like to share this title with anybody. If we scroll down, you'll see we've got the description of the title here, the option to borrow, read a sample, or place a tag on this item. Placing a tag allows you to curate a list within your Libby app. Now these tags now sync across all devices. This is also a new function that Libby has recently introduced, which is very helpful. So if you use your phone and a Kindle or an e-reader, you're able to access these tags across devices. These tags are not shared with the library or with Libby, so they're just for your personal use. So say you'd like to recommend this book for your book club. You can create a new tag by clicking this button. Name that tag Book Club Ideas, or just Book Club. Goodness, we're slowing down again. Okay. And then click Done. Now this book will be added to your book club tab that you'll be able to access from your profile, which we'll show you later. We can also scroll down and see within this title, slowly, that this title is also available as an audiobook and some basic information about this title. We are going to scroll back up here. And because we want to check this book out right now, I'm going to click Borrow. Now it already knows your library card. If you had multiple cards associated with this account, you would be able to choose a different card at this point. And we'll click Borrow. So now we are going to open this book. And this is the point where if you are using a Kindle device, you would be able to click this button here and Libby would send this device or would send this title to your Kindle or e-reader through your Amazon.com app. But because we're focusing on Libby today, we'll click on this Libby. And this will open the title for us so we can do a little ebook demo as soon as it decides to wake up for us. Casey, do we happen to have any questions to pass the time?
If you want, I can throw them out there. Yes, we have a question on if you have a Libby linked already to a library in your northern home state, what can be done with an MCLS account?
Everything. You would add Martin County Library as an additional library provider on your same Libby account, and we will show you how to do that when we get to your profile, which is going to be a little bit later in this demo. So you can absolutely access multiple library systems using the same Libby app.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now it looks like the internet has caught up with us here. So now we are seeing the cover of our title that we have just checked out. If you click on the book in the center of the book, you will pull up a couple menu options that are going to make your reading experience a little more enjoyable. You'll see up here some options to update the appearance or to change the appearance of your reading experience. So I'm going to click on that A for appearance. And we're going to, again, just wait for this to catch up with us. I wonder why it's so small. Okay. I'm going to hide this and try and open it again and see if it will. There we go. Okay, so here's where you can see some of the appearance options that you can change for your title. I'm going to click on the right side of my book so that we can get to a page to show you how some of this would change. In a page, if we can get, goodness. A very lengthy intro. Okay, here we go. So to get through the pages, you can click on the right side of the page to progress forward, on the left side to progress back. And again, if you click on the center, you'll pull up the menu, which will give you some options here. So I clicked on that A icon at the top. And here is where we can change the text size. So if you'd like to have a little bit larger text or a little bit smaller to fit more onto a page, you can change that here. You can also change the lighting of it, the lighting that's available. You can make, if you find that it's too bright to have just black and white, you can do sepia. If you're reading at night and you prefer something that's not quite as bright in your eyes, you can use dark, which would give you a dark background with lighter text that's a little bit easier to read in the dark. We'll go back to bright for right now. There we go. We can also change the font that's used in the title or in the within the book. If you prefer something that's sans serif or just slightly different, we also have this great feature, an open dyslexic font. This is a font that was specifically created to increase readability for users with dyslexia, which is a really great opportunity that we have here. But I'm going to stick with our publisher's default, and we'll use this little arrow button to close. There we go. Thank you. To close this, there we go. Now I'm going to click in the center for the menu again and show you this little magnifying glass icon, which allows you to search within this book. If there's a certain character that you want to remember, or you don't remember the last time they talked about a certain subject, this can all be searched within this book. You also have the option to add bookmarks to any title that you're reading. Bookmarks can be quickly added by clicking this little tiny ribbon here in the corner. And then you can access any bookmarks or highlights that you may have made by clicking these stacked bookmarks in the top right-hand corner. And it will show you all of the pages that currently have a bookmark on them. Now, if you choose to highlight any text, if you particularly like a certain phrase, then you can press and hold and place a highlight of any color. You can also make notes if needed. And save those as well. Now, these bookmarks and notes do stay with this title if it's returned, so that the next time you check it out, these are also available for you. They don't go to the next user, but if you check this title out again, Libby will remember that you've had this before and will remember your highlights and bookmarks for you. So if you decide to check something out again, you'll be able to see the titles that were, or the phrases and bookmarks that were important to you. And again, these can all be accessed from this stacked bookmark up in the right-hand corner. So here's my highlight and here's my note. We'll hide this now. Now down here at the bottom, there's a lot of information available for you. The most important thing is that it will show you, first of all, the title that you're on and what page number you're on. You can click here and see what percentage you have progressed through the book. And you can also access chapters down here. So if you previously read this and you remembered chapter 3 was great, you can skip right ahead to chapter 3, and there we are. Now down here, this is what we call a keyboard. I think of it as a progress bar. So this shows us these black spots are where chapters happen, and it's also got our page numbers there for us. Now, if we go back to page 19, I believe it was, you'll also see that I have a bookmark and a highlight on this page. So this gives you a little cheat sheet. Now, because I went so far back in the title in this book, this little menu at the top here popped up, which shows me the last place I touched this book. So if I click on this little fingerprint icon, it will tell me that I was previously on page 29, and then I went back to page 19. I can choose to go back to page 29 to start reading, theoretically, to start reading where I was before. Okay, where was I? Chapter 3. Okay, so that is the basics for how you would read an ebook within the Libby app. Right now, I am going to go back and we'll perform a search for an audiobook. Okay, now the way we'll get back to our library homepage is this icon down here that looks like your library card. So if you click it once, it brings you back to the book that you were just in. If you click it again, it will bring you back to your home page. So now we are going to use this search icon here, this magnifying glass, and we'll search for an audiobook this time. I am going to choose an author. We'll try Celeste Ng. And I just typed her in the search bar. And here are our results that we have for Celeste Ng. Now, because I am wanting an audiobook, I am going to, again, refine my search and choose the format audiobook. And here are the two titles that we have available as an audiobook. We see their audiobooks here with their earbud icon. And we see that it's available because it has a plus sign on this card icon here. So we're going to borrow, or I should say, sorry. we can click on the cover or the title, and it will give us much of the same information that we previously saw with the ebook. So it'll have the description, the option to borrow, the option to play a sample, and the option to place a tag on this title. I know I want this title. I don't need to listen to a sample. So we'll go ahead and click borrow on this option. And I will open this audiobook now. Now, the default for audiobooks and ebooks is that they are automatically downloaded to your device when you are on Wi-Fi. So if you are on the internet, then these items will automatically be downloaded to your device unless you choose to change that setting. So when you borrow an item, if you are on Wi-Fi, you'll have a little icon that shows you that it's being downloaded. And then once it's downloaded, it will live on your device until you return it or it is returned on its due date. So once it's downloaded, you'll be able to listen to it when you're on the go and maybe not particularly logged on to a Wi-Fi network. So we see a lot of the similar layout for this audiobook here. Our title, the options to play and progress through this title. And then our menu options are just slightly different, but they perform the same function in that they allow you to fine tune your experience with this title. So the first one we'll look at is this little, it looks kind of like a clock or a timer. This shows you the playback speed that's available. Again, it's showing small, so I'm going to try it again. There we go. So this allows you to fine tune the playback speed for your title. So if you are listening to this title and you find that the narrator just speaks a little slower than you'd like to listen to, or if you're like me and you find that this title is due back in one day and you still have 3 hours to listen to, you can listen to it a little more quickly than you normally would. You can choose these preset speeds over here on the side, or you can fine tune it if you want to set it to 1.55 speed, then you can do that here using this function. I'm going to set this back to normal speed. And then we'll hide this menu here. Next, you'll see this little moon here. This allows you to set a sleep timer for listening to this title. If you like to listen to audiobooks at night or to help you relax, and you know that you'll probably be falling asleep in about 15 minutes, you can ask Libby to stop your audiobook in 15 minutes. That way the book won't get too far ahead of you if you have fallen asleep. You won't miss too much content. You can also set it to do something like end at the end of the chapter, so you'll always know exactly where you stopped. I'm going to turn off this preset now and hide this menu. Now here you'll also see that stacked bookmark icon. This is where you would be able to see any highlights or bookmarks that you place within this title. And again, bookmarks can be placed here in the top right-hand corner by just clicking on this bookmark icon. In just a moment, we'll play this and I'll show you how you can do a highlight as well. So down here, this is going to show you how far in the book you've progressed. Now this time we've got minute markers rather than page markers. And you can progress also by clicking these buttons down here that take you to the next chapter. This button on the right takes you to the next chapter forward. This button on the left takes you to the next chapter back. And then, of course, to start listening to your audiobook, I'm going to turn my volume down a bit. You just push play. And you'll see down here we're progressing along in our time. The audiobook is currently being read. And if I'm listening to a passage that I particularly like, I can press and hold this bookmark button and it will record, it will highlight that title. You'll see it turns into a yellow circle. And now we see that this highlight has been placed down here in our progress bar and will also be available by clicking this stacked bookmark icon here. So we've got a bookmark at the beginning and this highlight that we just placed today at the 207 mark. And again, those were accessed from this stacked bookmark icon. Now, because I just progressed a significant amount in the book, I'm again getting this little menu bar here to allow me to go back to the last point that I touched in the book. Sometimes this is helpful in audiobooks particularly. For example, recently I accidentally grabbed my phone while I was listening to my book and progressed 20 minutes into my book without knowing exactly where I had ended before. So this was really helpful for me to be able to just take me right back to where I was before without missing any of the content from that narration. So I'm going to close this now. Okay, so those are our ebook and audiobook reading demos. Casey, do we have any questions on what we've covered so far? Searching and browsing Libby and reading or listening to your books?
We actually do have a few questions. Some of them are a little more broad in nature, so I can chime in on a couple of them, but I'm going to throw a couple to you too in case you know the answer. One question was, how many devices can you use your account on with Libby? And I didn't know the answer, so I might have to research it if you don't know the answer either.
I don't know the answer either. That is an excellent question. As far as I have heard, there is no limit, but again, that is something that we would probably want to confirm.
Yes, so I'll go ahead and work on that, which gives me a good opportunity to mention that we'll be emailing the slides and any follow-up to everyone next week. So stay tuned for the answer on that. Thanks for your patience. I had another question about why does the library, I utilize several other libraries using Libby. All the others allow up to 21 days before it returns. Why is Martin County 14 days? And if it's okay, I'll go ahead and answer that for you. Sure. We have that policy. That is something that Overdrive gives libraries the option to set a due date. We have the option for you to select 14 or 7 days. You'll notice when you click that borrow button, we always encourage people to pick the higher one, 14, because why not? You can always return it early. But the reason we have 14 and not 21 is because our regular print collection that you would check out from one of our branches, those materials are available for checkout for 14 days. So for consistency purposes, we chose to allow a 14-day checkout for eBooks and audiobooks. You can renew titles, and I'm sorry, Haley, if you're going to talk about this, you can renew a title 3 days before it's due. So just kind of keeping that in mind. If you think it's going to take you a little bit longer to read, 3 days before it's due, you'll see a renew button option on there. So.
And I'll point that out when we get to our shelf tutorial.
Awesome. Sometimes that's a hard one to demonstrate because we have to time it perfectly.
Right.
And sometimes we're not that lucky. So, but that's great. And then one other question, how do I know if the app needs to be updated? That is a really good question. It's kind of tough to answer because the answer is it depends on your device. So I have an iPhone, for example, and there's a setting in my iPhone where I can choose to say, update all my apps without even telling me. Or there's another setting in my iPhone that says, I will manually update each app individually as I want to. So because you personally have that choice, it's going to depend. The answer is going to depend. There was a very big update that happened on March 31st, which is why we wanted to teach this class again to show you all the changes and all the new features. But just to keep that in mind, that your app might not update automatically. I'm going to guess it does. That seems to be the default. If you have any questions, you can bring it into any of our library branches, and we'll be happy to kind of show you where on your phone you can manage that setting. And I think that's all the questions. I did get a direct message on asking if you needed an audio app to listen to an audiobook, which I thought was a really good question. That's one of the great things about Libby is it's everything you need to read a book or listen to a book or read a magazine is all right in the app. So no additional apps required.
Great. That was a great question. But no, as long as you've got speakers on your device, then Libby will take care of the rest for us. Okay, so we're ready to continue. Now I am going to go back down here to this is called our footer menu for Libby. And over here we see a stack of books. This is our shelf. So this is essentially any items that are currently associated with your account are going to be viewable from this icon here, this bookshelf icon. And you'll see up here it says shelf. And it gives you a brief overview of the items that you currently have checked out, your loans, how many items you have on hold, and any tags that you have. See, you'll see here that book club tag that I just set up is listed up here for us. So we will, let's see. This is perfect. Okay, so our recent loans, the items that we just checked out are listed here. You'll see this check mark that tells us that if this, and Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, when you're on a device, on your phone or on your tablet, this would be a solid check mark that would show you that this item has been downloaded onto your device. And that lets you know that it can be opened and accessed from anywhere, which is great. It also gives you the option to manage your loan. So you'll see here, there's your little library card. And when you click on that, for some reason, it's making me do it twice, which is silly. But it'll give you some basic information on this title. You'll see that it's due in on the 21st in 14 days, and the precise time that it will be returned, which is sometimes helpful if you're bringing it right to the wire, listening to a title. Once you get to 3 days by 3 days of your due date, so on May 18th, this option would be a clickable option to renew the loan as long as no person is waiting for this title. You can also look at your reading journey, which will show you some basic information about how long you've been reading the title, how many total hours it's been accessed, and you'll have the option again to share this title and view any tags that are currently associated with it. I'll click this arrow here to minimize that. And then we'll see also, oh, this might work. Great. So we currently had Black Beauty checked out on this account, and you see this note that says expiring soon, renew. That tells us that this item does not have anyone else waiting for it. It's due back in 1 day, and we can go ahead and renew this item by clicking on this red text or clicking Manage Loan. So we see it's due May 8th. We can choose to return it early, or we can choose to renew the loan, which we'll do here. And we'll click Renew. And now we have renewed Black Beauty for 14 more days. We can now open this book or go back to our shelf. We'll go back to our shelf now. And we see again that we have this due back in 14 days, and Black Beauty is now available to us again. If you continue to scroll down, you can see, I don't suppose we have any, oh, we do, okay, sorry. So up here, you can click on the items that you have on hold. And here you'll see a breakdown of the items that we have 3 books and 4 audiobooks on hold. We can sort these by the newer titles, by the title alphabetically, or by author. But from here, you can manage your hold. For example, this title, What the Devil Knows, is ready to borrow. So we can click here on the borrow button to borrow this item. Now, if we have a lot of books on our shelf right now, and we know that we just won't be able to get to this title quite yet, then we do have the option to send it to the next person in line and have it loop back around to us once they return it. This is a one-time courtesy that the library extends for us. It can only be done once per title. But and actually, we'll go ahead and let the next person borrow this one because we just renewed. Now we can choose to deliver this title in 14 days. We know by then we will have all of our titles read, or if we know we're going on vacation in 3 weeks and we'd like to have this delivered at the beginning of our vacation so we can start it, then we can ask for it to be delivered after 21 days so that you know you'll be able to read this title while you're on your trip. So this is suspending the hold for that amount of days, and we'll update that hold and go back to our shelf. Now we can see now this title will be delivered after May 28th, that 3-week timeline that we gave. This is not a guarantee that it will be delivered on May 28th, but it will be delivered after that date. So let's see. Now, all holds are able to be suspended. We can do that by managing our hold and clicking this suspend button here. This takes us to that same option to choose the number of days that we'd like to suspend those holds. Again, if you find you're too busy to read or you're really excited to read this, but you just won't have time, then you can choose for it to be delivered after a certain number of days. The maximum number of days for suspension is 180 days. After that, you'll have to either check it out or place the hold again. So this title, I'm going to suspend for 7 days and update that hold. And we'll go back to our shelf. Now I do just want to talk again. I'm going to go back to our shelf here. And again, I just want to demonstrate the use of these tags. Libby does automatically create some that they call smart tags. So these are tags for books that you've borrowed. Sometimes if you listen to a lot of samples or if you sample titles before you check them out, it could keep a list of those titles that you've recently sampled. All of these can be updated by clicking on the tag and then clicking actions here. You can rename a tag, export a tag to an external list, or delete a tag. This borrowed tag is a tag that is created by Libby. You can choose, if you already know you don't need it to keep a list of like this for you, you can choose to delete a tag, but I'm gonna allow it to stay. And we'll click on this book club tag just to see, here's this title that we previously tagged as a book club suggestion. And again, we can click actions to make any adjustments that we need to here. Okay. And the next item that we'll talk about is, oh, sorry, Casey, any questions on our shelf?
No, but that's a good reminder to, if anybody has a question, they've been great questions so far, just throw them into the chat and we'll get to them when we pause or when the internet doesn't cooperate.
Right, exactly. Okay, great. So we're going to move on in our footer at the bottom to our timeline here. This is a great feature. It was available, it was available in the last Libby, I guess we could call it. It was previously available in Libby, but they have made it a lot more prominent in this new update, which is really helpful because this gives you a brief overview of any items currently or previously associated with your account. So you can see here, for example, the materials that we have just worked with today, the 2 items that we borrowed and the item that we renewed. will show up here. And you can also click on the title itself to bring you back to that title. So if it's showing you that you had a book checked out, but you forgot what it was about, you can go back to that title if this would cooperate. And take a look at that by just clicking on the title. It'll also give you some basic information to show you that you can look at your reading journey. Again, this will show you how long you've been reading it, how much time in minutes or hours you've spent with this title. Minimize here. And this is able to be synced across devices as well, just like tags are. So you'll be able to see if you use a tablet or a Kindle or and your phone, then you'll be able to see all of those items listed by going up here to actions and synchronizing your shelf. So if you know that you had a title checked out, but you're not seeing it there, it's possible that you checked it out on or that you were reading it or interacting with it on a different device. If you synchronize your shelf, then it will pull all of those items from your different devices to the same shelf, and you'll be able to look at those items here. You can also, if you're not interested in looking back at how long you've read Black Beauty for, or what day you checked out The Giver of Stars, then you can disable activity recording here. You can also narrow this down by using these filters here at the top for items that you currently have on loan, items that you've placed hold on, or items that have been renewed. Okay, any other questions, Casey?
Yes, we had a couple more come through.
Great.
One, does Libby keep, which I think you might have just answered right after it came through, does Libby keep a history of all the books you've ever borrowed and returned?
Yeah, well, I know that it keeps the history as long as I believe it's as long as you have access to that device. Is that right, Casey? Does that make sense?
I think, and this is one of the newer things, but it actually is saved to your Overdrive account. And so even when you switch devices, it does show you that they call it timeline, which is what Libby just showed, that little clock icon at the bottom right corner.
This little icon here.
Yeah, so that records your activities, unless, like she just showed, clicking actions, you want to disable that feature. So if you can't remember books like me and you want to have that, that little record, you can do that there. Sometimes I check something out. It's like, oh, I guess I've already read this. I could have checked my timeline. But, or if you want to disable that, you do have the option there. And then remove all activities will delete everything. So disable stops it from this point forward. Remove will delete all your previous.
Great, thanks, Casey.
Yeah, and then one other question, which might be another stumper. Can the same title be moved between Libby and Kindle apps?
What a great question.
And I'll go ahead and chime in on that. Previously, because this is something that we should look into anyway, so thanks for asking. Previously, the answer was no. Once you send a title to your Kindle, for example, your Kindle e-reader, I have a Kindle e-reader. So once I sent it there, I could not access the ebook version on the app. But I will have to check if that was one of the features that was added to the new update. So I'll include that answer in the follow-up email that we send out next week. But previously we had to have you return if you sent it to your Kindle e-reader, we had to have you return it and then check it out again to be able to access it in Libby. So stay tuned on that. Thanks for a great question.
Yeah, those are two great questions.
Yeah.
Okay, any others? Are we good to continue?
That is all that's in the chat for now.
Okay, great. And again, if you have any additional questions, please do continue sending them in because we're happy to answer them. Next, we're going to move on to managing your Libby settings and preferences that is this center button here with the Libby icon. You'll see this one in particular has 2 notifications waiting for us to let us know there's something going on with our account. So if you click on this icon, here's that internet acting up for me again.
And I'm just going to chime in because I've been wanting to this whole time to say that the library has been having intermittent Wi-Fi issues in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for your patience. When you download Libby, it's not really this type of experience. This is the first I've seen it do this.
Exactly. Yeah, this is not a normal Libby experience to be so a little choppy. So yes, thank you everyone for your patience. So when I clicked that, when I clicked that Libby icon, it opened a sidebar here with some options, with some notifications here at the top, and then we'll have some options to update our notifications, settings, and preferences. So right now, Libby, because this is the first time that we've logged on to Libby with our device, Libby is asking if we would like to sync the titles in our wish list to a tag. That's not something that I currently have set up in Overdrive. So I am going to swipe to the left on this notification to remove it because this isn't something that I would need to do. If you do have an Overdrive wish list, this is, I believe, a new feature of this new Libby update that is very exciting, that if you have that Overdrive wish list, you are able to import that into your Libby app to access from Libby. So you wouldn't need to use the Overdrive Classic app if you prefer to use Libby. Again, since I don't have that currently set up, we will swipe away from that. And then here's a notification to let me know that my hold that I had on the C has lapsed. Again, it automatically sent that item on to the next person in list waiting, and now it will deliver it later. This is a one-time courtesy for this title that the library has extended. So it's being delivered later. Now we can go, So it's giving me the option again to choose when this hold is delivered, to deliver after 7 days, after 16 days, and you can update that hold directly from that notification. I'm going to go back to our Libby profile here. And since I've cleared those 2 notifications that were waiting for me, now it just gives me the option to manage my notifications. So I can click here to choose how I am notified of any activity on my account. Now, if you're using Libby on a mobile device or on an e-reader, you may have just slightly different options here for a menu badge or an email notice. I believe you can sign up for a banner notice is the other wording, and Casey can correct me if I'm wrong.
It's notification on the Libby app on a mobile device. Yeah.
So this is where you can set up how you are notified for any activity that's on your card. So if a loan is expiring, as you saw, we had with Black Beauty, when we were looking on our shelf, it was due tomorrow. So I could have set up to receive an email notice to let me know that that book is about to be returned, or I could just ask that I'm not notified at all of any loans that are expiring. It can also let me know that loans have expired, that holds are ready, a hold is lapsing. Again, the way I just received that notification that let me know that the hold had been sent to the next person. And what's amazing, a great new feature with Libby, is that you can ask to be notified when we have new titles by any author or any series. So when you find an author that you love, you can set up an author notification so that anytime we have a new title within Libby by that author, you would receive a notification. And if you're incredibly fast, you'd be able to check it out immediately, or you'd be able to go in and place a hold on those titles. It can also let you know if there's a new title in a particular series that you follow. they'll let you know when that new book comes out on the Libby app. So, and then down here at the bottom, it also just gives you a little, again, you might see different options depending on what device you're on. But down here, you can see how these different notifications would appear on your device. I'm going to go back. And this is where we'll talk about adding another library system. So if you do have multiple library systems of which you are a member, this is where you would be able to add a library. So you could just click here and you would go through that same procedure that we used previously. For example, if you live also in New York, you can add the New York Public Library. You would enter your library card and have access within this same app to both the Martin County Library System and the New York Public Library System if you are already a member of that library system. I also mentioned that you can have multiple library cards within this same account. So I'll go back and show you here where it says See Library Cards. You can add another card. So if you, again, are a caregiver, if you share a device, you can add another card and it will be just the same, entering your account details, your card number, and your PIN number. And if you don't have a library card, again, you can click on this link that will take you to our online card application. And we'll go back. Now you can sorry, and that just brought us back to our Martin County Library System main page by clicking on this card itself. You can also scroll down and access any help or support that you might need. By clicking Get Some Help, this will bring you to the Libby help page website. So you would need at least mobile or internet access in order to access this one. Alternatively, you can always call any of our library branches and we're happy to help troubleshooting with Libby over the phone or in person. So, and that is about the end of our demo. Do we have any further questions?
Yes, we have a few more questions in the chat, so I'll just throw them out to you. Sure. Question number 1, when I pause an audiobook and come back to it, it's a couple minutes past where I left off. Have I somehow set it to do that?
That's not something that I have encountered before. Is that something you've ever heard of, Casey?
No, and I don't believe it's a setting. Kind of what Haley said, sometimes if you drop your phone or your finger accidentally slides that timeline, it can happen. There's also the 15 seconds forward and 15 seconds back button that was in that. Maybe can you pull up that audiobook,
Yeah, absolutely.
Haley?
So we'll go here.
Yeah. Yep. So there's that 15-second forward. It's possible to tap that a few times. To be honest, I have gotten into the habit, and it was actually our previous ebook vendor because they weren't as good. I've gotten into the habit of hitting the bookmark button in the upper right corner, just so that when I close my book, I know exactly where I left off. So I still do that personally with Libby, even though it's a much more reliable app than our previous one. So that's a recommendation that you might try and see if that helps at all. All right, another question. Any reason to keep Overdrive? Any reason to keep Overdrive on my devices?
It depends on which device you're using. Again, as Casey mentioned at the beginning, there are certain devices that are not compatible with Libby. So if you're using one of those devices, then we do certainly recommend the Overdrive app. I do know that a lot of people kept the Overdrive app rather than switching to Libby because they had those wish lists that they'd been working on for maybe weeks or months or years, and they didn't want to lose that curated list that they had created. Now that you can sync your wish list with your Libby account, that's a really good a really good reason to switch to Libby if you do have a Libby compatible device. But other than compatibility, I do find that Libby is very helpful and very user-friendly for the devices that it is compatible with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in to add that, you know, according to Overdrive, Libby is the way of the future. Any new features and services that they add is all going into Libby. And so, like Haley just said, the wish list that people have built in Overdrive over the last decade, people were really dragging their heels because, yeah, you've spent 10 years like creating this list of all the books you want to read and all the books you had read. So that was a huge priority for Overdrive to kind of move people forward so that they can have the new features of Libby while still the content that they've been working on personally from Overdrive. So a lot of librarians, if you talk to a lot of librarians, they're like, I'm finally going to move over to Libby now because of this update 6 weeks ago. Libby is the one, it's got Bluetooth compatibility. So especially for audiobook listeners, there's a lot more features. It'll sync with your car that Overdrive doesn't have. There's new accessibility features in Libby that the Overdrive app doesn't have, the Overdrive Classic app. Graphic novels, which are becoming more and more popular. You can read those in Libby, and you weren't previously able to read those using Overdrive Classic. So definitely Overdrive wants more and more people to move on. If you want to keep the app, it's not doing any harm. Maybe try both out for a while just to make sure you're comfortable. So
that's a great tip. And I do want to point out something I forgot to mention earlier that I just noticed. You might notice down here, there's a bar that says now reading, little fires everywhere. So that happened because I had this title open and then I backed out of it to come back to my shelf. But this is where you would be able to click to immediately get back into the title that you were previously reading the last time you were in the app. So I'll just go back again and you can see whatever title you were previously in will show up as in a bar over the footer down here. So just noticed I hadn't mentioned that.
Good call. Still a few more questions too. Sure. So there is a clarification. So just to be certain, when the title is sent to my device and I later lose internet connection, will I still be able to read offline? And then there's a follow-up too from that.
Sure, I'll answer the first part. So if the title was sent to your device and it was downloaded, that means when the title was sent to your device, you were connected to the internet, then the automatic, the default setting is that that title will download to your device. Once it's downloaded to your device, it lives on your device regardless of connection to the internet. So once it's downloaded, if you are away from the internet, oh, look, something great just happened while we were on this tutorial. But I'll just finish talking about the download real quick. So once it's downloaded, it lives on your device until it is returned. So yes, if it is downloaded, if you do lose internet access, it will still be accessible to you. And there was a follow-up you said?
And the follow-up, which I might just go ahead and turn my video on and show, because this is better to see maybe. And as we mentioned, Haley's using a computer, not a mobile device, because it's a lot easier for us to follow her mouse. But on a mobile device, those check marks that she has, Black Beauty, for example,
right here.
How it's a dotted line, it's not really downloaded onto that computer, but most of us, when we're using mobile devices, we're going to see that check mark, but it's a solid check mark. Can you guys see my video okay?
Yes.
So that check mark means it lives on my device. And now when I lose internet access, which I do often, I can still access that book. I'm going to tap on that check mark just to show you, because the follow-up question is, how much space do I need? And the answer is going to vary depending on what you have checked out. But when you tap on that check mark, it's actually going to give you the option to take it off of your device. But it will also show you how much space is required. So in this case, it's 3.9 megabytes, which is about the size of maybe a photo or two on your phone. So it's not a ton of space. Audiobooks are going to take up a little bit more, as you'll see, just because the files are different and they just require a bit more room. So I'll show you, I tapped on the audiobook that Haley checked out, and that is 318 megabytes. So just to kind of, oops, I got a text message, sorry. Just to kind of show you the difference between ebook sizes and audiobook sizes, and then where you can go to find out exactly how much space it's taking up on your device. So the solid check mark means it is downloaded. And I think Haley showed you in the preferences that you have the option to manage your download settings, but that's also in change in that same place, change download rules too. So that is more if you only have Wi-Fi, or if you pay by the megabyte for your cell service. I don't think it's a problem for most of us, but we're happy to discuss. But again, more good questions. These are awesome questions. So thanks for asking. And if that wasn't clear, let me know. So a few more questions for you too, Haley, and I'll try to help you where I can. And we will follow up, we'll find answers and make sure we have them before we email everybody next week if we can't answer them today. Next question, does a search all libraries that you have? So it sounds like a person might be a member of multiple libraries, though you did the New York example, plus Martin County Library System. When you conduct a search, does it search across all libraries?
That's a great question. And I believe, and again, Casey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe once you have multiple library systems set up on your account, you can sync the libraries to have their collections exist within the same space. And if that's the case, then you would be able to see, for example, when you look at a title, you would see which library's colors or logo shows up for that title. And that way you'd be able to see which one you would be borrowing from. But if that doesn't work, then you are also able to switch between your library cards just by accessing your profile and clicking on the different library cards that would be available here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and confirm that. I'm not seeing that answer in the Libby help access, so I'll go ahead and look into that too, and just confirm that that's the case.
Okay, thank you, Casey.
Yeah, these are great questions. Thanks, everyone. This is back to the audiobook. When I pause my audiobook, it goes back a few seconds, not forward.
I have found that happens to me sometimes. I personally have never minded it because I like being reminded of where I am in the story before we start with new content when I restart my audiobooks. But again, that may be a feature of, I wonder exactly how many seconds it would be going back, if it would be if you accidentally tap this 15 seconds back, or if it's just a matter of 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, I've noticed a little bit of a lag, like, because I'm a big audiobook listener. So I have noticed a little bit, like that little black triangle that Haley has on the screen, that might be a little behind where I actually am. But it's more of a visual lag rather than an audio lag. So I am curious if that continues, and if it does, let us know. You can also put a review in the App Store wherever you downloaded Libby. So we're always curious about what you all are experiencing. So this is really helpful for us to hear too, because we can pass that along to Overdrive.
Absolutely.
Okay, more great questions. If I have more than one library system listed and I request an item not available in one, will Libby check the other system?
Wow, these are great questions.
I'm writing that one down too. In fact, I'm going to take a
Yeah.
picture. So I don't know the answer to that. I think
And
we
I'm
were
sorry to
wondering
say
the
I
same
don't
thing.
either.
Yeah, I think we were wondering the same thing and we couldn't find the answer. And neither of us has a library card because we live here all the time. We don't have a library card to another library system. So, but we will definitely, this is a great excuse to actually go find the answer, which we will do and get back to you. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely.
Please explain the difference between Kindle and e-readers again. Can I switch between my phone and Kindle for reading the same book? And I can cover
Casey,
this
did
too.
you want to take that one?
Yeah. I wish I brought my Kindle e-reader in to show you guys. So Kindle is kind of confusing, which is why for today's class, we did want to just keep the focus more on Libby and the features and functionality of Libby. But Libby is compatible with Amazon e-readers in that you can use Libby to push books to your Kindle e-readers. I like to think of Libby as a place where you manage your content. If I have an e-reader, a Kindle e-reader, rather than using it to read, because I don't like to read on my phone. I listen, I use audiobooks, but e-readers are designed for reading long content. Kindle e-readers are sometimes, some of them have specific names like a Kindle Paperwhite or a Kindle Oasis. Those are examples of Kindle e-readers, or there's just a regular Kindle, but you'll know you have a Kindle because it's only black and white. The pages look like real pages. They're meant to be, they can be read outdoor in the sun rather than most tablets, which have a glare. And so that's what e-readers were originally designed for, is to be very light, portable ways of accessing a lot of content, but in a way that's pretty true to a real book experience in terms of bringing it anywhere. You might have a Kindle Fire tablet, and a Kindle Fire tablet is full color, like a phone or an iPad. So that's how you'll know if you have a Kindle Fire tablet. So pardon my over enunciating some of these terms, but it does get Kindle makes things a little confusing. And Amazon is notoriously hard to work with for libraries. And so that's where we want to help you figure out how you can use these services in the way that's best for you. So feel free to bring us your Kindle or whatever you have. And if you just come into any of the branches and say, will you help me read your eBooks on here? Then we'd be happy to do it, but it is a little confusing. And then a follow-up question, can I switch between my phone and Kindle for reading the same book? That question came up earlier, and I'm gonna have to research that. It didn't previously used to be the case. You had to pick one or the other. But with the new update, I'll look into it in a little bit more detail and send everyone information in email next week. And then before I forget, Haley, someone did ask, I'm going to answer the next couple of questions, but someone also asked if you could do a demo on how to check out a magazine. So maybe
absolutely.
that would be a really good demo to have, because this other question reminded me of that.
So
I thought you couldn't, sorry, I'm going to
ahead.
answer this next question while you navigate there. I thought you couldn't download Libby to a computer, but only Overdrive. Is that true? You guys are very perceptive. So the word download means copying content from the internet down to your computer, because the internet is up in the air. Another term for the internet is cloud. So if you copy content from the internet, from the cloud, you download it onto your personal device. Libby is an app that you download to your phone or your tablet, and that's what most of us do, and that's how most of us use it. Haley today is showing us a website called libbyapp.com. So that's why she's not able to download any content, because she's using an internet browser. And to use an internet browser, you always have to have an internet connection. I don't want to go too much in the weeds about this, but generally I just want everybody to remember that Libby is available to download onto your mobile devices. You can access the content online through libbyapp.com, which is basically what Haley's showing us. But if you've been following along with your mobile device, you'll see that it's almost exactly the same experience. So that's where I just wanted to clarify. And I'm sorry if that's more confusing. Someone commented they have Libby on their PC. Yes, you can access Libby on your PC. Libbyapp.com is the website, but when you're mobile and are traveling and want that content on the go, some of you probably have book specific devices that you use to access your content. You'll want to download the Libby app, and that way when you don't have internet access, you have it available there.
Okay, thanks, Casey.
And then there is another question, but I think if we talk about the magazines, the other question will be a good thing to demonstrate.
So searching for a magazine is going to be a very similar experience to searching for an ebook or audiobook. You can set it as a preference. If you only want to look at magazines on Libby, you can set that as a preference, that's the only thing you'd be able to see. You can also access them through this catalog guide here, magazines. And you'll see all of the options that we have available. Now, this is going to be just the same as checking out an ebook or an audiobook. So you'll see that this option is available to add to your shelf with that little plus sign. So we can click on this card. We can choose to read a sample, or if we know that we want to read the new Reader's Digest, we can just go ahead and borrow that immediately. Now, all of our magazines, and I believe all of our magazines, are for continuous use, which means that they can be checked out. We don't have a limited number of copies, so you wouldn't need to be placing holds on any of these magazines. Most of them will be available immediately. And here is a great example of where you can choose to be notified of new issues. This is similar to where I mentioned the notification to be notified for new titles by an author or new issues in a series. So you can choose to show me now or show me how here. It would take you to set up your notifications, or you can choose not now if you just want to read what Helen Mirren has to say. And then you can open the magazine here. And it'll be very similar to reading the ebook in terms of the way you turn pages. You'll click on the right-hand side. You can, if you click in the center, one of the options in the menu is to just progress through each story or pages. So you can choose just to look at this one and it'll pull it up for you as well. And you'll have many of the same functions as you had with your ebook. And you'll also be able to zoom, which is helpful. Does that answer those questions for magazines?
That answered the question. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Will you demonstrate how to set up the notifications for an author one more time?
Absolutely. So we'll go to our profile, which is that small Libby icon in the center of the bottom of your screen. And we'll manage notifications. And all the way at the bottom here. Oh, sorry. This is where you would receive the notifications this is where you would set up how you get notified for an author, but I believe you would set up the actual notification. For example, if I wanted to receive notifications for Celeste Ng, that's a great question. Casey, do you know how to set up those notifications? I'm so sorry.
Sorry, no. And I was like digging in my Libby app. Let me see, because I did this the other day. And I know we always say like Libby's so user-friendly, and it is, because you can basically just keep tapping around until you
find the answer.
Find the answer, yeah. Let me see. I was trying to look up some of the answers to those other questions.
Let's see. We'll just find out this answer together right now. I think it would be one of the smart tags that we would set up.
That's another new feature too, just in case you weren't sure.
Right.
Notifications. How can I be notified? Managing notifications. Might have to follow up on that one too. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm so sorry that I don't have that
FAQ.
information immediately. We'll be sending out some really
I know you guys have given us a lot of really good stuff to find out. All right, last call for questions. These are really good ones. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and email if you got the email from me yesterday, let me turn my video on. If you got the email from me yesterday, then that means I have your appropriate email address. Most of you wouldn't have gotten the link otherwise in your email either. So I just wanted to let you know that I'll follow up on all the questions that we weren't able to answer. And I might just add in a couple, like I'm going to send you the Libby help link, which has a lot of really great help content. But now I'm not so sure, because the questions that we weren't able to answer today, I haven't been able to find in their help content either. So I might need an extra day or two because of that, because it might require reaching out to Overdrive. But you should hear from me. I usually like to say, if you don't hear from me by next Friday, that means I put a typo in your email or got a bounce back. So if you don't hear from me by next Friday, please reach out to me. And that way I'll know, because I'll plan to definitely get this information out to everybody before in the next week. So Haley, any final thoughts?
No, just thank you to everyone for attending, and clearly a lot of big thinkers on this webinar today.
Yeah, and I'm
grateful to know that we need to follow up on. So thank you, everyone.
And that's how we learn, is we find these questions, we get these questions from you, and then we find the answer, and then we share it with our teams. So it's a really great opportunity for all of us to learn and to really put our Libby app to the test. So thanks. Oh, one more question, sorry. Do you log out?
You do not need to log out of Libby unless you don't want to be logged into Libby, essentially. And there is a way to do that from your profile. If you see library cards, you can, if you go to your profile and you open all of your library cards, you can see there's an action button here. You can remove this card, which essentially logs this card out from whatever device you're currently on. So it won't log you out of every device that you're using your card on. For example, if you have, if you use it on your phone and your e-reader, then you would need to remove that card from both devices. But otherwise, you're able to stay logged on, and that allows you to very quickly get back into any titles that you're trying to access from your Libby app. What a great question.
And then I got one more in the chat. Okay. Is app version 4.2.1 for Android mobile phone the most updated version? And I'm gonna have to go Libby Android. You'll see how we find the answers to most things. It's just Googling it. Let me see.
They're really putting us to the test today.
I know, this is great. We love these questions. We're librarians. Okay. Let's see, the Google Play Store doesn't have that information on there. Oh, 4.2.1. Yes, the answer is
Okay, great.
yes.
Thanks.
So you have the most recent, according to the Google Play Store, which would be the experts.
Great.
All right, and that puts us at 3:02. So thanks again, everyone, and take care. We'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.